Portland is not the open, accepting, amazing place that it thinks it is, but it is better than the vast majority of any place else in this country.
From the outside looking in, Portland's reputation of inclusion makes it a sanctuary for queer and trans folks.
But the people who work with those communities every day says reality is not as rosy as you might think. Quite Six going beyond pride, telling the stories and exploring the issues of the LGBTQ plus community all year round.
Yeah, we start tonight by looking at Portland's accepting reputation and how we can better live up to it. Brandon Thompson starting this project. So Brandon, what did you find?
Yeah, this was one of the reasons I moved to Portland, because as a gay man, I wouldn't have to hide or worry. I didn't come from one of the states that are putting anti-LGBTQ laws on the books, but those who work with the queer and trans people who are homeless, help them through addiction, or even just find a place to live and work. They say people from those states are looking to Portland. But the infrastructure of care is already struggling to keep up for the people who do live here, much less the people coming to seek refuge. Behind the hair, makeup, and choreography of the drag artist Vegas Flights.
Portland always has had this beautiful magic about it where we have so many options and opportunities for people to be who they want to be.
Is Jacob Repetto, a 19-year-old native to Portland, using the show to overcome and inspire?
Growing up, I didn't really get to see people like me, and so art was really and truly my escapism. It was kind of like the oxygen that my lungs needed.
Repetto created The Takeoff, a drag show for teens, providing the example he never had growing up.
Did you feel pressure to normalize as a child, or?
Oh, 100%. I think everyone does. I think everyone as a queer person is like, it would be so much easier if I did not feel this way or did not have to experience this at all.
Despite the magic the Rose City has shown him, he's felt its thorns as well. While his family was always accepting, Jacob's classmates were not. Bullying from classmates in school led to a depression diagnosis when Jacob was just 8 years old.
I had kids threatening to kill me. I had kids that were physically assaulting me. I was punched, slapped, whatever.
It's still scary to be out because you have no idea how that person across the street is going to react to you.
Portland often finds itself at the top of the internet lists for the most queer and trans-friendly cities or most accepting places. But in Porta's decades of leading the city's Pride Festival at Pride Northwest, she has seen a different reality.
I have a lot of friends and know a lot of folks in the community who are even more unsafe than I am. There's just this visceral reaction from people when it comes to bucking those gender lines that brings an unsafe something out of them toward our people.
The Department of Justice's hate crime data shows 15% of hate crimes in Oregon for the latest year available were because of gender identity or sexual orientation. The number of crimes reported rose from 31 in 2018 to 45 in 2020. While data from since when COVID began is not available, Porta believes the pandemic caused a lack of visibility that has continued the trend.
I mean, this is why I talk about the origins of pride and that taking of our place in the public sphere, because it is very easy to ignore a community that is living on the margins as a whole. And the pandemic has shown me that front and center.
In the 30 years Porta has been in Portland, she has seen the visibility of the queer community erode in policy decisions. She and other queer and trans community leaders say they were ignored when Portland City Council voted to create sanctioned campsites.
And there's been zero planning around that process to take into account the very real dangers for our people when it comes to large congregate settings.
I think the biggest challenge that I've seen is that I think Portland as a whole, the value system within Portland is one of inclusion. The infrastructure does not follow.
Ian Morton operates the Q Center, the largest LGBTQ community center in the Pacific Northwest. Morton has seen the lack of care for the trans and queer community show in Portland's most visible societal struggle, homelessness. The Williams Institute at UCLA finds that nationwide, 6% of cisgendered or straight people will find themselves homeless at some point in their life. For queer and trans people, it's 17%. And in Portland, there's only one designated place for them to go, the 60-person Queer Affinity Village in Southwest Portland.
There are folks who would rather take their chances out in the elements than engage in some of the services because they feel as though they're not designed to serve them.
A lot of trans and queer folks, unhoused trans and queer folks that I've met with don't access shelters because they're gendered and that doesn't feel safe to them.
Katie Cox helped found the Equa Institute. What was a clinic for the queer and trans community has become an organization that helps people find health care in a place that will accept them and understand them.
Portland has gotten a lot better as it pertains to like physical medical care for queer folks. I think there could always be more. I think that where we really lack in is queer and trans mental health providers. I think that's a really big piece.
The barriers of access for queer and trans people who are already in Portland are compounded in Morton and Cox's eyes. Because the reputation from the outside, Morton says people are finding refuge in Portland in an attempt to escape the anti-LGBTQ laws passed in other states.
Portland is seen as a sanctuary for the queer community, so we do have a lot of folks who actually move into this space to come out, to leave states or leave cities where they feel like they're experiencing high discrimination.
I feel like I'm bracing myself for an influx of folks moving to Portland as refuge, from other states and areas that are now telling them they don't exist or they can't be who they are.
Cox, Morton, and Porta are leading 3 of several organizations working together to fill the gaps with the resources they have, pulling on the strengths of each organization to tailor services to the needs they're facing. They say if they coordinate and start conversations about the challenges they face, what Portland has prided itself on can shine through and live up to the reputation that's preceded itself.
The reason that I'm still here is because I think there's potential to actually move forward and to address and to bring equitable, thriving lives to everyone who lives here.
Katie Cox is hopeful that there are finally more resources being available to help the queer and trans community. The Equa Institute received money from Measure 110 to fund 2 recovery counselors. Now, this is the first in our Beyond Pride series, where each month we're going to be telling stories of the LGBTQ plus community. And at the start of Pride Month in June, we'll have a special diving into the last year of news around the community as well.
Brandon, I think it's so great that you're putting yourself out there for this, but also talking about this, because it's just something you don't hear enough about as far as the lack of resources for this large community that we have.
Yeah, and that's what Morton and Porta mentioned, is that we don't know that these are issues because they're not talked about and there's not a spotlight on them. So it's one of our goals here.
Yeah, good.